told you already. Tomorrow morning is the earliest flight I can put you on.
It's not good enough, okay? I'm a surgeon.
He'll let you know when I'm ready.
The story begins with Alex, a woman stuck at an airport because of a storm. Her flight to Denver is canceled, and she desperately needs to get there for her wedding the next day. Alex is a smart, determined journalist who always finds a way to solve problems. At the same airport, Ben, a neurosurgeon, is also stuck. He has a life-or-death surgery scheduled in Denver, and if he doesn't make it, a young boy might die. Both Alex and Ben are stranded with no flights available. While at the airport, Alex overhears Ben arguing with the airline staff. She comes up with an idea to share a small charter plane with him if he pays half. Ben, equally desperate, agrees. The pilot is an older man who used to fly for the US Air Force and has a loyal dog with him. Although the plane is small and old, the pilot reassures them they'll stay ahead of the storm. Alex, eager to reach Denver, convinces Ben to trust the pilot, and they board the plane. The flight begins smoothly, and Alex and Ben chat, learning more about each other. Alex shares that she's a journalist heading to her wedding, while Ben talks about moving from London to the US after marrying an American woman. As they fly over snowy mountains, the weather worsens. The storm intensifies, and the plane shakes. Ben notices the pilot is struggling, and soon, the pilot begins to show signs of a stroke. Ben tries to help, while Alex tries to contact air traffic control, but the storm is too strong, and the plane crashes into a mountain. Shortly after Ben wakes up, injured but alive. The pilot didn't survive, and Alex is unconscious and hurt. Ben tends to her injuries, lights a fire with plane fuel, and tries to keep her warm. Outside, the wind howls, and the temperature is freezing. The next day, Ben realizes they are stranded on a snowy mountain, far from help. When Alex wakes up, she's scared and in pain, but Ben calms her down. He tells her they've been stranded for over a day. While Ben holds on to hope for rescue, Alex doubts anyone will ever find them. As days go by, their situation worsens. They try to signal planes, but none notice them. Their food runs low, and the cold is unbearable. One night, Alex burns her wedding photos to keep the fire going. She feels guilty for not telling her fiancé, Mark, about the chartered flight. Alex becomes restless and insists they leave to find help. Ben thinks it's too dangerous, but Alex convinces him to climb a nearby peak to search for signs of life. When they reach the top, Ben sees nothing but endless mountains and feels hopeless. While Ben is away, Alex faces danger when a cougar approaches the wreckage. The dog defends her, and Alex uses a flare gun to scare the cougar off. The cougar flees, but the dog is hurt. Ben returns, relieved Alex is safe, but upset about the dog's condition. That night, Alex suggests leaving the wreckage, but Ben insists it's safer to stay. They argue, and Ben accuses Alex of being selfish, saying she cared only about her wedding, while he had a patient's life at stake. Alex feels guilty, knowing he's right, and regrets dragging him into this. The next morning, Alex takes the dog and leaves, leaving a note saying she'll send help. When Ben wakes to find her gone, he's angry, but quickly decides to follow. Alex struggles through the snow, determined but exhausted. Ben catches up, relieved she's alive, and they continue together. After hours, they find a cave to rest. Ben checks Alex's leg and is glad it's healing. They joke to lighten the mood, and Alex warms Ben's freezing hands inside her coat, showing her caring side. Later, Ben apologizes for almost abandoning her, and Alex reassures him. They promise to stay together. That night, Alex has a nightmare and admits she regrets not telling Mark she loved him. Ben comforts her, sharing body heat to keep her warm. By morning, they've grown closer. Alex explores with her camera and spots a distant light. Excited, they agree to investigate. On the way, Alex asks about Ben's life, but he's evasive about his wife. This feels odd since Alex openly talks about her fiancé, Mark. Reaching a dead end, Alex, exhausted and hopeless, considers jumping into the icy lake. Ben stops her, calling her reckless. They argue, and Alex tearfully admits she's scared and tired of pretending. Ben comforts her, urging her to focus on survival, and she apologizes for her outburst. That night, Alex asks if Ben's phone has any signal. It doesn't. She's curious about the music he was listening to at the airport and asks him to play it for her. Ben agrees, and they sit close, listening to the sad music. He gives her a piece of candy, and they fall asleep. The next day, as they walk through the snow, Ben asks Alex to take a picture with him with a beautiful view in case they don't make it. Alex refuses, saying they have to keep believing that they will survive. Their bond grows stronger as they continue their journey. They laugh when they can share their stories. But Alex notices the dog is missing and insists Ben search for him. Ben sighs, but agrees. The dog leads Ben to a hidden log cabin in the woods. Ben feels overwhelming relief, but Alex's situation worsens. She steps onto thin ice, and before she can move, she falls into the freezing water. Ben hears her scream and rushes to help. He pulls her out and carries her to the cabin. She's unconscious, and her body is dangerously cold. He makes a fire, gives her some soup, and even tries a risky method using snake anti-venom to warm her up. While he waits, Ben plays an old piano in the cabin, hoping the sound will wake Alex. Finally, she opens her eyes, and Ben is overcome with relief. He tells her he couldn't have survived without her bravery. Alex feels weak, but is grateful to be alive. Ben gives her all the soup, even though he's starving too. She tries to make him eat, but he refuses, saying she needs it more. The next day, Ben went out hunting, leaving Alex behind. Curiosity got the better of her, and she searched through his belongings, finding an old voice message from his wife. Ben came back earlier than expected and caught her listening to it. Angry, he accused her of invading his privacy. Alex apologized, explaining that she felt desperate. She didn't want to die without truly knowing him. Calming down, Ben admitted he hadn't listened to the message in years. They played it together. In the recording, Sarah, Ben's wife, urged him not to blame himself for what had happened. Ben revealed that Sarah had died of a brain tumor. As her doctor and husband, he couldn't save her, and the guilt haunted him. It was this guilt that made him so determined to protect Alex. Moved by his vulnerability, Alex hugged Ben, then impulsively kissed him. Both were surprised at first, but the second kiss came naturally. At that moment, Alex stopped thinking about Mark or the future. Only she and Ben mattered. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for now, they found comfort in each other, a rare moment of warmth in their harsh reality. The next morning, Alex quietly took a photo of Ben while he slept. When he woke, she told him she believed they were close to civilization and suggested he go ahead without her while she stayed in the cabin. Ben hesitated, worried about leaving her alone in her fragile state, but Alex insisted, and reluctantly, he agreed. The following day, Ben left, taking all their supplies. As he walked, memories of Alex consumed him, and an uneasy feeling crept over him. Unable to shake it, he turned back and returned to the cabin. When Ben arrived, he told Alex he couldn't leave her behind. He promised to get her to safety, no matter what. Having lost Sarah, he refused to lose Alex too. The journey was grueling. Both were starving and barely able to move. Alex could hardly stand. Exhausted, they stopped to rest and fell asleep. The dog's barking woke Ben just in time. He rolled down the slope they'd been sleeping on and fully woke, realizing the dog had saved them again. Not far away, he spotted a timber factory. They were so close to being rescued. Ben quickly woke Alex and pointed out the factory. Though weak, Alex's determination grew. They pushed forward, but the dog disappeared again after a few hours. Alex urged Ben to find the dog, and while searching, he stepped into a trap, injuring his leg. He shouted for Alex, who rushed to help but couldn't free him. Ben urged her to leave him and find help. With sheer willpower, Alex reached the factory and found workers who came to their aid. Finally, when Ben regained consciousness, he was in a hospital, but Alex wasn't in his room. He immediately asked where she was and hurried to her once he knew. Through her door, Ben saw Alex, and she waved him in. He embraced her tightly. Overcome with relief, both cried quietly, holding each other. As Ben leaned in to kiss her, a toilet flushed, interrupting the moment. A man stepped out. It was Mark. He looked at Ben coldly, and Ben awkwardly stepped back. Clearly, Mark's presence was a sharp reminder of the reality they had returned to. Introducing themselves briefly, Ben excused himself and left the room. As Ben walked away, Alex felt an unexpected ache in her chest. For Ben, leaving her was harder than he anticipated. Back at his room, he broke down in the shower, mourning the loss of someone he had come to love deeply. Life moved on, but nothing felt the same. Alex struggled to adjust, surrounded by people, yet feeling isolated. Mark tried to comfort her, but he couldn't understand what she had been through. She couldn't bring herself to explain it. Ben, back in London, adopted the dog, but couldn't return to his job as a surgeon because frostbite had damaged his fingers. He missed Alex deeply, but ignored her calls, believing she had moved on with Mark. Eventually, Alex realized her feelings for Mark had faded. The person she had been before the mountains no longer existed, and Mark couldn't accept that. They parted ways. One day, Alex developed the photos she had taken in the mountains and sent them to Ben. Seeing them, Ben was overwhelmed with emotion and finally called her. They decided to meet in New York. Their reunion was a mix of nervousness and relief. Alex admitted she had ended things with Mark and confessed she had fallen for someone else. She wasn't sure if her feelings for Ben were real or born from their shared ordeal. While Ben wanted to try a relationship, Alex was hesitant. They parted without kissing, leaving their future uncertain. As they walked away, both were lost in thought. The memories of their time together gave them strength. Suddenly, Alex began crying in the middle of the street, turned around, and ran back. At the same time, Ben did the same. They met again and hugged tightly, neither willing to let go. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them together. And with that, their tale comes to an end. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.